In the summer of 1514, a Hungarian nobleman turned rebel leader named Gyorgy Dozsa was forced onto a red-hot iron throne, crowned with a burning iron crown, and eaten alive by his own soldiers. But this barbaric execution was not just a sadistic punishment. It was the deliberate, theatrical climax of a holy war that had spiraled completely out of control. Just months earlier, Pope Leo X had called for a crusade against the invading Ottoman Empire, prompting tens of thousands of Hungarian peasants to gather for war. These peasants, known as the Kürök, finally saw a chance to escape their brutal daily servitude under the wealthy landowning nobility. They were given weapons, basic military training, and a sense of holy purpose that they had never experienced before. To lead this massive, ragtag army, the crown selected Gyorgy Dozsa, a charismatic soldier who had recently been knighted for his bravery in single combat against the Turks. Dozsa was a minor noble of Szekely heritage, possessing both the military skill to command and a deep, burning resentment toward the ruling magnates. As the peasant army swelled to over 40,000 men, the wealthy nobles back in Buda began to panic. The landowners realized that their fields were empty, their crops were rotting, and their entire feudal economy was on the verge of collapse. In a desperate bid to regain control, the nobility ordered the peasant army to disband and demanded they return to their fields immediately. To enforce this, the landlords began retaliating against the peasants' families, burning their homes and beating those who remained behind. This brutal crackdown backfired spectacularly, turning a holy crusade against external enemies into an explosive domestic class war. Dozsa, furious at the betrayal of his men, made a fateful choice and turned his massive army directly against the Hungarian nobility. The peasant rebellion swept through the great Hungarian plain like wildfire, leaving a trail of ash and blood in its wake. Dozsa's forces targeted manor houses and castles, hanging any nobleman they captured and tearing down the symbols of feudal oppression. They demanded the abolition of the nobility, the redistribution of church lands, and complete equality for the peasant class. For a few brief weeks, it seemed as though the entire social order of Eastern Europe was about to be completely rewritten by force. But the rebel army, despite its massive size, lacked the professional siege equipment and heavy cavalry needed to win a prolonged war. In July of 1514, Dozsa laid siege to the strategic fortress of Temesvar, modern-day Timișoara, hoping to secure a vital stronghold. The fortress was desperately defended by Stephen Bathory, a ruthless nobleman who managed to hold the line against Dozsa's assaults. As the siege dragged on, a massive relief army led by John Zapolia, the powerful voivode of Transylvania, arrived on the horizon. Zapolia's disciplined, heavily armored knights smashed into the exhausted and poorly armored peasant ranks from the rear. The battle quickly turned into a slaughter, and Dozsa's army was thoroughly routed and scattered. Dozsa himself fought bravely to the end but was eventually wounded, overpowered, and taken alive into captivity. The victorious nobility, eager to send a terrifying message to any future rebels, decided against a simple execution. They designed a twisted, theatrical spectacle to mock Dozsa's ambition of becoming a king of the peasants. An iron throne was built and heated in a roaring fire until the metal glowed a bright, terrifying orange. Dozsa was forced onto the blistering seat, and a white-hot iron crown was placed directly onto his head with heavy metal tongs. He was also forced to hold a red-hot iron scepter in his bare hands, completing the agonizing parody of royalty. Despite the unimaginable agony of his flesh burning away, historical accounts state that Dozsa did not utter a single scream. But the cruelty of the nobility did not stop at this horrific torture. They brought out 9 of Dozsa's top lieutenants, who had been deliberately starved in captivity for several days. These men were told that their lives would be spared only if they tore off pieces of Dozsa's roasted flesh and ate them. Those who hesitated or refused were instantly executed on the spot with swords and axes. Under the threat of immediate death, several of his starving followers complied, consuming their leader's flesh before he finally died. Following this horrific display, the nobility launched a brutal campaign of pacification across the Hungarian countryside. Over 70,000 peasants were slaughtered, mutilated, or enslaved in the immediate aftermath of the failed uprising. The Hungarian parliament then passed laws that stripped the peasantry of all their remaining rights and bound them to the soil forever. By crippling their own population and cementing this deep social division, the Hungarian nobility thought they had secured their power forever. But their greed and short-sightedness would cost them their nation's survival just 12 years later. In 1526, when the Ottoman Empire invaded under Suleiman the Magnificent, the fractured and hollowed-out Hungarian state had no peasant army left to call upon. At the disastrous Battle of Mohacs, the elite Hungarian army was utterly obliterated, and their king was killed. The crushing defeat at Mohacs plunged Hungary into nearly 2 centuries of foreign partition and ruin. Gyorgy Dozsa's execution remains a haunting historical reminder that when ruling elites ruthlessly crush the rights of those who feed them, they often construct the very engines of their own destruction.